Welcome to global politics, where things aren't always as they seem. Sometimes a single letter can spark international incidents. Forget nuclear codes, we're talking country codes. One wrong keystroke, and suddenly you're sending billions to the wrong nation. This isn't a joke from a spy movie, folks. This is the confusing, often hilarious reality of our world. Countries, like squabbling siblings, share more than just borders. They share initials, and that's where the fun begins. Think K is just another consonant? Think again. It's a battleground for Kuwait and Korea, especially when billions of dollars are involved. C stands for confusion, with Cameroon and China often caught in the crossfire. Fasten your seatbelts because we're diving headfirst into the alphabet soup of global politics. It's a world where typos can trigger economic tremors and diplomatic dinners turn into awkward family reunions. Remember the last time you accidentally auto-corrected Korea to Kuwait in a text? Embarrassing, right? Now imagine doing that with a billion-dollar bank transfer. That's the stuff of international nightmares. That's exactly what happened recently, folks. A simple case of mistaken identity, a typographical error of epic proportions, and boom, $1 billion went on a surprise vacation. The intended recipient? Let's just say it involved a K country. This incident, as funny as it might seem at first, highlights a very real problem in our increasingly interconnected world. We rely heavily on abbreviations, on those pesky initials, to navigate the global landscape. But what happens when those initials lead us astray? The answer, as this billion-dollar blunder proves, is chaos. Financial chaos, diplomatic chaos, and a whole lot of explaining to do. Someone's getting a strongly worded memo, and it probably involves a dictionary. C might stand for cookie, but in the world of international relations, it's a recipe for confusion. Take Cameroon and China, two countries separated by continents but united by that pesky initial. Now, you'd think mistaking these two would be difficult, right? One's a relatively small African nation, the other a global superpower. But in the world of diplomatic cables and hurried news headlines, anything is possible. Imagine the awkwardness when a trade delegation from Cameroon arrives in Beijing, only to be greeted with confused looks and whispers of, "But we were expecting someone else." Or the diplomatic faux pas of congratulating China on its stunning victory in the Africa Cup of Nations. These might seem like humorous hypotheticals, but they illustrate a point. In a world obsessed with brevity, with condensing complex information into bite-sized initials, mistakes are bound to happen. And when those mistakes involve global powers like China, the consequences can be far-reaching. Let's talk about Russia, a country that takes its alphabet very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that they seem to think it applies to their neighbors as well. From Ukraine to Uzbekistan, any country starting with a Cyrillic letter is fair game in their eyes. Now, we all know about the whole former Soviet Union situation, but Russia seems to be stuck in a time warp, clinging to those shared initials like a security blanket. It's like that friend who insists on calling you by your childhood nickname, even though you're both pushing 40. This alphabetical annexation, as absurd as it sounds, has very real consequences. It fuels tensions, justifies military actions, and creates a climate of fear and uncertainty. It's a reminder that in the wrong hands, even something as seemingly innocuous as an alphabet can be weaponized. Section 5. Lost in translation. When language barriers meet country codes. The English language might rule the internet, but in the real world, it's just one voice in a global chorus. And when it comes to country names, those voices often clash, creating a symphony of confusion. Take Korea, for example. Or is it Korea? Or maybe Hanguk? Depending on who you ask and what language you speak, the answer could be all of the above. And that's just one country. Now imagine trying to navigate a world where every country has multiple names, each with its own unique spelling and pronunciation. It's enough to make even the most seasoned diplomat reach for a phrasebook, and maybe even a stiff drink. This linguistic labyrinth highlights the inherent challenges of global communication. We live in a world of diverse languages and cultural perspectives, and those differences extend even to the very names we use for each other. Section 6. The price of a letter, economic and political fallout of global confusion. Mistaking Austria for Australia might get you a chuckle in a geography quiz, but in the world of international finance and diplomacy, it can have serious repercussions. We're talking economic sanctions gone astray, military aid sent to the wrong ally, and diplomatic summits that descend into farce. Remember that billion-dollar bank error? That's just the tip of the iceberg. These alphabetical mix-ups can disrupt trade agreements, impact stock markets, and even spark diplomatic rows. Imagine the awkward phone call when a head of state realizes they've accidentally declared war on the wrong country. It's a stark reminder that in our interconnected world, even the smallest error can have global consequences. It's enough to make you want to double-check every email, every text message, and maybe even brush up on your geography skills. Section 7, Alphabetical Antics. Humorous takes on serious diplomatic dilemmas. All this talk of global confusion might seem a bit heavy, but there's a silver lining. Sometimes the absurdity of it all is just too good not to laugh at. From satirical news headlines to late-night talk show monologues, comedians have a field day with these alphabetical antics. Imagine a sketch where the leaders of Cameroon and China keep getting their mail mixed up, or a news ticker that accidentally announces the invasion of Costa Rica instead of Costa Brava. The possibilities for humor are endless. These comedic takes, while lighthearted, serve an important purpose. They highlight the absurdity of a system that relies so heavily on easily confused initials. They remind us that even in the high-stakes world of global politics, there's always room for a little laughter. Section 8. Beyond the initials. Navigating the complexities of global identity. It's easy to get caught up in the humor of it all, but the reality is that these alphabetical mix-ups point to a deeper issue, the complex and ever-evolving nature of global identity. In a world increasingly defined by borders, flags, and yes, even initials, it's more important than ever to recognize and respect the unique identities of nations. This means moving beyond simplistic abbreviations and engaging with the rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and histories that make up our world. It means understanding that a country is more than just a two-letter code. It's a living, breathing entity with its own unique story to tell. It's a call to action for all of us, from world leaders to everyday citizens, to approach global interactions with sensitivity, curiosity, and a healthy dose of humility. After all, in a world as diverse as ours, there's always something new to learn. Section 9. The future of global confusion. Can we decode the alphabet soup? So, what does the future hold for this alphabet soup of global politics? Will we forever be at the mercy of typos and mistaken identities? Or can we find a way to navigate this linguistic labyrinth without sparking an international incident? The answer, like most things in life, is probably a bit of both. As long as we rely on abbreviations and initials, mistakes are bound to happen. But that doesn't mean we're powerless to mitigate the risks. Investing in better communication systems, promoting cross-cultural understanding, and maybe even adding a few more letters to those country codes could go a long way in preventing future fiascos. And who knows, maybe one day we'll look back on these alphabetical antics with a knowing smile, a reminder of a simpler, more confusing time. Until then, let's all try to be a little more mindful of our K's and C's, and remember that in the grand scheme of things, a little laughter can go a long way.